he was talking about what is sowing and reaping, those key words. Sowing and reaping. And you have to, you want to sow in your life what you want to reap. And you definitely have to be careful because you're going to sow seeds that are negative and you're going to sow seeds that are positive. And what you want to grow in your life is what you really want to be sure that you're putting into your life. But the one thing he said that really hit me, and I know that it was what God wanted me to hear, was he said that a scientist, an artist, a musician, a athlete, he said the one thing they have to do is practice, practice, practice.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And and the same thing with this, taking time to spend at least 20 minutes a day. It's something we're going to have to practice till we get it. Because as soon as you try to sit down and be still, oh my gosh, there's monkeys in the trees all around you. That's what Abbott Jerome calls them. But you persist. You persist. You sit. You make yourself stay still. I know that it's also maybe a good thing to go and get into a different location other than your house. Because, like maybe some natural place of beauty. The church, I now know how I can get into my church, which is locked in most doors locked, but there's one that's not.
You break in?
And just, turning that television off. If you're at home alone, turning everything off so that you can make sure there's no distractions coming in.
I like to go to the park, okay. Elizabeth. I do that on a regular...
Go ahead, say that again.
I do that on a daily basis, usually. And I try to go over. There's a little corner park down here in downtown Los Angeles, and I go take my 10, 20 minutes a day over there, and just enjoy the stillness of the park, And I think that's
very important.
Yeah, it's probably the most important time of the day, really.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It is very much so. The most important time of the day.
What my brother does...
go ahead, Carl.
Oh, sorry. What my brother and my dad do, they go once a week, but my dad prays, I think, he's Catholic like you and I, and he prays the rosary every day. But my brother and they go like once a week to take an hour at supervising the chapel with adoration.
Yes.
The Eucharist, like a lot of churches will have.
And adoration is so awesome because there's something. And Johnny, what I would encourage you to do, I really would, and anybody who's listening to this, I'm glad you brought this up, Carl, because not everybody really agrees with or believes that white host is the precious body and blood of Jesus Christ. But there's one thing you can do if you want to experience His presence of God is to go. You don't have to be in a church where it's what they call exposition or adoration, where it's actually on the altar in this beautiful monstrance. But there's a tabernacle in every Catholic church, and you will know where it is because there's a red light hanging by it or standing by it, a red candle, and it's back by the altar somewhere. And it's usually covered up, or it's got a gold door. It's like the ark, a very precious place where the presence of God is kept. And like one Jewish person, he was very sick in a hospital, and a nun came by and prayed for him, and he got well. And then after he got well, he asked if he could go to her church, where, she went to church. And she was showing them through this church, and as they passed by the tabernacle, she didn't even say, this is the tabernacle or this is what it is, but they passed by it, and he stopped, and he goes, oh, this is where your God's at, isn't it? And she says, yes, why? He says, because that's the same the same present feeling I felt when you prayed for me in the hospital, that this feeling came over me, this actual presence of holiness came over him when she prayed. And he came out of that tabernacle. And I know this is very, very true because there's too many times that I go kneel before the tabernacle. And it's, the power of God is very strong. But you must, again, humility, openness, that taking time to be still, that when you do these things and you're just there and you don't think anything. You're just there. You will sense the presence of God as you were before that tabernacle. And it's just awesome. It truly is awesome. And it's the same thing as happens when you're receiving communion if you have the right attitude. It's a sad thing that there's too many people go up there, make the sign of the cross real fast like they're just trying to brush a fly away, and come back with it's sad that there's too many people that are not aware of the fact that you have just received God. And there you are, rushing to get out there in that parking lot to get out of here so you can get on home. And that's sad. But that's the attitude of some folks in church nowadays. Sad. Okay, back to happy.
That was heavy. Wow. Thank you, Elizabeth,
I've
for
got
that
some
one.
stories I wanted to share. And because we need to focus on, and God really wants us to pay attention to this, focus on celebrating life, being aware of the present of the moment in each moment as you go about your life, to slow down enough and focus. Don't be having so many things about living in the moment is important. If you're living in the moment, you can't be thinking, oh, I got to do this and that and that and that and that today.
Yeah.
You can start your day by writing your list down if you want to. But as you progress through the day, it's important that you take the moment and live in that moment. Otherwise, you'll miss things. Like I could have missed the battery being low and that little message that God threw in there. So I'm going to share some stories. And one of them, Tim, I hope is going to be on next week. I hope we're going to be able to, if we have him call into your phone, Carl, and put it up to a mic, maybe we can get him on board next week. That would be so awesome, wouldn't it?
I'm not sure.
We'll figure something out, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really would like to get him in here because Tim and Joyce is this person who's he's just so talented and so full of love and so full of joy. Perfectly naming it, Tim Joyce. Yeah, okay. He is so full of joy. And he will share with you, though, that he has come from a background, and today he was sharing that he can't understand how it was that he came from this background where he was really an angry, living in the moment type person, but just with outrage and just being a very angry, negative person. And yet he grew into this person that has got all these wonderful sense of humor and compassion and tenderness and love, and then when he's around the beauty of nature and the beauty of people that he loves dearly, he's so aware of it. And this is what we all need to strive for. And he was kind of getting a little negative today about how could this be that I have had this kind of life, and a lot of us feel this way. There's a song out about it. What did I ever do that was worth loving you? Do you remember that one, Carl?
No, I'm sorry, but
yeah,
it
was a country music song. You might want to pull it up. Let me see if I can. This is something like, what did I ever do that was worth loving you and the kindness you've shown? And something about it's me, Lord. And it's a country music song. Oh, gosh. But anyhow, if God wants it, we'll bring the song up. Okay, but Tim was, and I wrote a letter back to him on Facebook, and then I put it on Facebook for us all, because all of us have this type of thoughts in our head. We have our past regrets, and we're ashamed and feeling guilty from doing stupid things and actions back when we were growing up. But we have to look at life, the whole picture, with the whole picture, not the part of the story, but the whole story. And I said there was once a master artist who, in creating the final piece of beauty, had to work with it in a way that would form the shape he desired. Maybe he would go against the grain, maybe he would go with the grain, but he would chip, and he would chisel, he would scrape, and he would smooth, and he would polish and shine. And sometimes he would even hold it to the fire until he get that perfect sheen or look. And it's a long and painful process, and a very patient master works until he gets this masterpiece to the point of awesomeness that it finally becomes. And then I said, case in point, Tim, or any person out there, we would not be able to be who we are today, so full of great love and compassion, tenderness and awareness of all that is, and all around us that's waiting to be loved and appreciated. We would never have become this person without all that has gone on before. All. So we need to embrace and give thanks for all that's happened in our life, because God does not waste anything. He takes it and makes it beautiful again. And otherwise, there would be no hope for any of us if this was not true. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Very much so.
Wow.
No hope for any of us. Another story about that, because it's important that we realize that just as much as we find the gift in the moment and time to appreciate what is happening now, we need to understand what happened, why, and how come in the past, so we won't be angry. We have to understand so that we can really enter into the moment now and enter into this knowledge that you are in the presence of peace and joy. You are in the presence of great awesomeness if you are not overcome by all the stress, worry, anger, etc. So another great story is met this lady through Facebook who is undergoing right now chemotherapy. And my friend Ed asked for prayers for her, and we were praying for her. And I Facebooked her and became her friend through comments that she made or I made, and she was thanking everybody for the prayers as she went into remission. And I asked her at one point if she would like for me to send her a book that I wrote, My Journey, My Cross. And she said, yes, I would. And I said, okay, we'll send this on to you. And I said, when you get it, I've asked the Lord to give you a special message. And he says for you to read page 40, I believe it was. And then I said, by the way, because I went and looked to see what 40 was all about. And I said, by the way, did you by any chance have to go through losing a child at an early age? And then she called back, she Facebooked back after a few days and so forth and so on and said, I got your book and so forth and so on. And here's what she responded, how she responded. First of all, she was glad to hear about my health and the fact that we seem to have found the problem. She said, I want to thank you for the gift of the book. I really look forward, she had not got into it yet, spending some time in the pages of your life. Plan to take it to Houston when I go for my long stay with the stem cell transplant. And to my question, I did have a very emotional miscarriage before my daughter Heather was born. Mike and I tried for years to have a second child, and 12 years after our son was born, I got pregnant. We were all elated, only for it to end in a miscarriage. My doctor encouraged me by saying, well, at least you know you work, so give yourself 6 months, take prenatal vitamins, and try again. Just like she said, I got pregnant right away with my sweet daughter Heather. And then my history had been found. I found a lump in my left side and immediately went to my OBGYN, and she had the ultrasound done. There was a growth the size of a cantaloupe entangled in my left ovary. She did surgery right away. I will never forget her morning visit the day after surgery, and her response was, if I would have been a betting lady, I would have definitely bet you had cancer when I did your surgery. The color and texture of the mass was just like cancer I had seen before. However, when the results came back showing no cancer, I knew God had a purpose ahead for you. So she had surgery back then for what they thought was cancer, but it turned out like nothing, just like I went through 9 months of, you got something, but it's nothing. We still very close friends after all these years, and she delivered our son Eric and Heather 13 years later. And now I've never forgotten those words for her on that special morning 29 years ago. And then she comes back again. When I replied to her with this, I said, go read the book and be ready for a wow. And she emailed back again and Facebook back again saying, you're right, wow, I did not realize. And because page 40 in this book is all about my death of my daughter at 12 hours of age. And then there's also talked about a miscarriage, too, and how God blessed me with this special miracle of one day I was praying as we were driving home or driving somewhere by myself, and all of a sudden